Okay, let's do the laws of reading Megillah tonight. 287. Is there an English translation on that chapter?
Yes.
Or just okay? I can't take those like open source, so I can't take responsibility for what the English says. But the Hebrew is what the Hebrew. Chayav Adam likrot Megillah balayla. A person must read the Megillah on the night of Purim. V'lachazor v'lishnotah bayom, and you must repeat it again in the daytime, the following day. V'shel Laila, and the Megillah that you read at night, Zemana Kol Halayla, you can read it the whole night. V'shel Yom, and the time of the day, Zemana Kol Hayom, is from the whole day. Ma'anetzach Hama ad Suf Hayom, so from sunrise until the end of the day. What I want to do in this shiur is to show you that we can cover ground in Shulchan Aruch and really know entire Halacha of Shulchan Aruch. V'im Kira'ah Misha'ala Amud HaShachar. Okay, see here the word Kira'ah?
Means to.
If it would say V'im Kara, and if you read it, but Kira'ah means, you see the Hey, it comes to refer to the Megillah, it has a dot in the Hey. V'im Kira'ah, if you read the Megillah, Misha'ala Amud HaShachar, from when dawn began, Yetzah, that counts. So even though you're really supposed to start from sunrise, if you were a little bit earlier and you did it by dawn, then that's okay. And where we are, we're in Halacha 2. Mevatlim Talmud Torah lishma mikra Megillah. You are, even though learning Torah is more important than all of the mitzvot, and even if you're with hundreds of people that are studying Torah together, everyone must stop and read the Megillah. Meaning, Megillah reading pushes off Torah learning. Kal v'chomer l'shar mitzvot sheTorah shekulam nidchim mipnei mikra Megillah. How much more so any other mitzvot, even Torah mitzvot, that they are pushed off in order so you could read the Megillah. She'en lecha davar shnidche mikra Megillah mipanav. There's nothing that pushes off mikra Megillah, chutz, except for mimet mitzvah she'en lo kuvrim, for a dead body that has no one to bury it. It's called a met mitzvah, as a person who there's no one to bury. Meaning there's no one can afford the funeral, there's no family members, or whatever it is, that's called a met mitzvah. Shapogea bo, that someone who bumps into this body, kovro tchila, v'achar כך koreh. First he buries them, and then he goes to read.
So obviously there's no property or too much in it. You just wash your hands.
Yeah, we're an ultimate image now, so unless it's a kohen. V'chol zeh, says the Ramah. Listen, this is a very important Ramah because you may think it only applies in the laws here, but it applies so many other places in Shulchan Aruch. V'chol zeh ma'ire, ela b'de'ika shahot lasot shtehen. All of this is referring to when you have ability to do both mitzvot. Aval imi efshar lasot shtehen. But if you cannot do both of them, en shum mitzvah deoraita nidchet b'pnei mikra Megillah. There is no biblical commandment that is going to be pushed off for the reading of the Megillah. We're making Mikra Megillah very important. You push off every biblical commandment, learning Torah, wearing, whatever it is, putting on tefillin, whatever. All of that gets pushed off to read the Megillah. Says the Ramah, that only applies when you can do both. It just means that you're going to do tefillin later, or you're going to do learning Torah later. But if you only have time for one of those two mitzvot, there's no biblical commandment in the world that can be pushed off to hear Megillah. So you just skip reading Megillah. If whatever you need to do is biblical, and it's going to take up all the time for you to do it, it doesn't make a difference. Megillah is only rabbinic. It's a normal equation. I mean, it's a normal biblical versus rabbinic. Rabbinic always gets pushed off for biblical. The only time we can push off a rabbinic commandment for a biblical commandment for a rabbinic one is when you have time to do both, and all you're wondering is if you should do it now or later. You understand?
Yeah.
This rule only applies when you have time to do both. This applies in many other places where you see this mitzvah pushed off that mitzvah. V'ha demet mitzvah kodem, and that which it talks about burying a person first, dafka b'de'efshar lo likor achar kach. That's only assuming that you have time to read the Megillah afterwards.
Well, wait a minute. What if you don't you have to do something with a dead body? You couldn't leave it there, could you? You wouldn't leave it after you read the Megillah.
There's an argument here. Let me read to the Mishnah Boy. I'm going to click on that last sentence, that last teaching of the Ramah. Click on it, and select Mishnah Bura.
Select. Wait, it says select.
Click. Press on it. Press on it. It'll come commentaries. Click commentaries.
Okay, forget it. I don't understand.
Don't forget it, man. Don't get frustrated. Try it.
Commentary.
See that? Now find Mishnah Bura.
Commentary. Okay, wait, is it moving?
Mishnah Berurah?
Yeah.
Okay.
How far
Mishnah
down do you
Berurah
have to go
12, you
down?
want to find. Yud Bet. Marlene, give me your phone.
Got it.
What did you click on?
Commentary?
The commentary. Don't click on
Bet.
commentary. Scroll down
Oh,
to Mishnah Berurah.
okay.
The one that says Yud Bet. Can you find it? Yeah.
Thank you, sorry.
Okay. Oops.
Sorry.
Let's read the Mishnah Berurah. Mishnah Berurah says, "Aval im hu samuch lechashecha yikra Megillah." If it is too close to the dark and you've just bumped into a dead body, it's too close to sunset, first read the Megillah. Deha met mitzvah afshar lekovo balayla, because you can bury a person at night also. So you grew up, or at least you lived for a long time in the West, where people are afraid of cemeteries at night. I don't know what their story is. They watch too many Halloween movies. In Judaism, it's a regular thing to bury people at night. In Yerushalayim, we don't let a dead body sit out overnight. The city of Jerusalem is too holy to have dead bodies lying around. So if someone dies today, let's say they would have died at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, we're going to bury them at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Or if for whatever reason they are not released till 11 o'clock at night, we'll do a funeral at 1 o'clock in the morning. There's no time that we don't do funerals.
Okay. Very different from the American custom.
Very different. Here, unfortunately, people, they wait days and days and days till they get buried.
Yeah.
Person should, I don't know if there's a way to get around it, but if a person could write in their will that they don't want to wait any time until they're buried, it should be done. If not, they should get buried somewhere else. V'hine zeh hetik harama b'shem Mahara Mizrahi. The Rama mentions this halacha in the name of the Mahara Mizrahi. Aval kama acharonim, but there's a number of acharonim. The Taz, the Magen Avraham, the Pri Chadash, the Gaon of Vilna. Cholkin al zeh, they argue on this halacha. V'sovrin da'afilu ba'ofen sheidcheh hamgila legamre, that even in a place, in a situation where you bury somebody and you're totally going to miss out on the mitzvah of Megillah, gamken met mitzvah kodem. You still bury the person first, even if you're going to miss the Megillah reading. Why? Mishum kvod ha'beriot, out of respect to a person, to a human being. Respecting a human being's dignity and not leaving him out there while you're reading Megillah is more important than reading the Megillah.
Are we still in Mishnah Berurah?
Yeah. אכן כבר ביארנו לאל דווקא באמת מצווה ממש, אבל לא בשאר המתים. And it says, let's clarify again, we're talking about a real met mitzvah that has no one to bury him, not just a random person who died. Okay, let's leave that. This concept of kvod ha'beriot, of respect to a person, it's used a few times in halakha, and I'm not sure that we're given the formula of how to plug it properly into an equation. When does human dignity kick in and push off mitzvot? When does it not? We should find who researched this topic and learn about it. Okay, I'm going to skip chapter 688 because that's all about walled cities. We're not in a walled city. So Hashem will be in Yerushalayim, and once you're there, we'll already have someone else that teaches you halachot. This is the last halakha here. Interesting.
689?
No, go to 688, but halakha 8.
Wait. Chet?
Chet. Ben Ir. Let's say you're a person who is from a city. שהיה בספינה או בדרך ולא היה בידו מגילה ואחר כך נזמן לו בתום. But let's say you were traveling and there was no Megillah for you, and you only finally found the Megillah on the 15th. Koreh אותה בט"ו. You read it on the 15th without blessings. At least you should read it, even though you didn't fulfill the mitzvah in the proper place at the proper time. There are exceptions to reading the Megillah on the 14th, and sometimes those exceptions come in handy. Now, 889.
Does Shushan Purim have any status in terms of that?
We don't say Tachanun outside of Shushan.
So there's no benefit to say the Megillah on Shushan?
No, it's better to
And
do it.
originally, did they? I mean, was there a celebration? Was Shushan Purim because it took a while to get the word to get out? Other provinces?
No, we mentioned last week, Tuesday,
I wasn't
that
here.
in the Megillah itself, it says that the people rested from the war on the 14th, and those in Shushan rested from the war on the 15th. They just had different dates of going to war. And so then we celebrate accordingly.
Thank you.
889. Shakol chayavim b'kirat Megillah.
689 or 889?
Sorry, 689.
Six.
Everyone is obligated in the reading of the Megillah. Aleph, hakol chayavim b'kirata. Everyone is obligated to read the Megillah. Anashim, men. V'nashim, and women. V'gerim, and those who converted to Judaism. V'avadim, meshuchrim, and freed slaves. U'mechanchim et haktanim likrota, and we teach the young to read it. Meaning, already, even young children, even if they don't have an obligation, we still make sure that they know. I was in a place now. Give me a second. Let me ask if you can send it to me. Let's see if he gets back to me. This man, I stayed at his house in Texas. He was in Morocco recently. And he was walking somewhere and he met a little Jewish kid. He says, "Tell me what you're learning." He says, "I'm learning Megillat Esther." He says, "Okay. What do you know about Megillat Esther?" He says, "No, I know Megillat Esther by heart." He's maybe 5 or 6 years old. And he says, "Read it for me." He read it for him and he recorded him on camera. Children are capable of a lot more than we think they are. We waste their lives with nonsense when they're young.
Yeah.
They're able to know a lot, to own a lot. So everyone's obligated to hear the Megillah, man or woman. Let's see the Mishnah Berurah here. It's an interesting Mishnah Berurah. So click again on the section 1, and click again, scroll down till you find Mishnah Berurah, and look for the first one, the first Mishnah Berurah.
Section
yeah.
1.
Click, and then go down to Mishnah Berurah, the first one.
We just came. Is this the right one?
Yeah, read it.
Oh my gosh, I got it.
See,
Oh my
brother?
gosh, I just-
V'nashim, woman.
There's no help.
V'avda kriya hi davar shehazman gerama, even though reading the Megillah is a time-bound mitzvah. Mikol makom chayavot, women are still obligated. Why? What's the exception to women being obligated in time-bound mitzvot? Like by Chanukah? Shafhen hayu b'oto hanes, because they were also part of that miracle. D'mitchila hayta gzera gam lehem, because from the beginning the decree was also on them. K'dechli bakra, like it's written in the Megillah. ולכן צריך האיש לקרותה בביתו לפני הבתולות והמשרתות, and the man has to go home and read the Megillah in front of the young girls and the servants that are there. ובקצת מקומות, and there are some places, listen carefully, some places, נוהגים שהם הולכות לבית הכנסת, עזרת נשים לשמוע קריאה. There are some places in the Jewish world where women come to the synagogue, to the ladies section, to hear the Megillah. How long ago was this written? In the 20s, 1920s? It's not so long ago. אכן צריך עיון איך יוצאים שם אנשים, but we have to figure out if the ladies are even fulfilling their obligation in the ladies section. דאי אפשר לשמוע שם כדין, because it's almost impossible to hear the Megillah properly from there.
Really? Depends where.
He doesn't explain if it's because of the children, or if it's because, if you've ever seen many synagogues, the Ashkenazi ones, the women are very far away, they're very high up, or very far back, and what's happening in the Beit Knesset, they don't actually hear properly. My grandfather's Beit Knesset, they didn't have a ladies section. When they built the Beit Knesset, ladies didn't go to shul.
Oh.
And then later on, my grandmother started pushing ladies to go to shul, so they added a ladies section. So what do? They just had a room like this, like the kids' room. So they just made a window into the kids' room, and that was the ladies section. So it was like a window the ladies listened through. I can't imagine sitting in that room, you heard much. And the truth is, in my grandfather's particular synagogue, the ladies used to close that window all the time, because they would study there and pray there on their own during tefillah. So my grandmother would pray with them, whatever they did over there. So that was like, they would open it for Torah reading and close it and do their own thing over there. But sometimes I don't really understand how ladies are going to come to this ladies section all the way up there and hear the Megillah, which you can't hear it properly. So that's why he says the man should go home and read it to his family. Today our situation is very different, so we're not... Alright, let's go back up into the Shulchan Aruch. The next few halachot will be very interesting. Echad HaKoreh, whether one is reading, V'echad HaShomea, and whether one is listening to the reading, Min HaKoreh, Yatsa Yedei Chovato, has fulfilled their obligation. So even though the obligation says you have to read the Megillah, you don't actually have to read it. You just have to hear it being read. You understand? V'hu sheishma mimishu chayav b'kriyata. But that's only on condition that you hear the Megillah from somebody who's obligated to read the Megillah. What does that mean?
In other words, a woman reads it.
Oh, that's a very good question. What happens if a woman reads the Megillah?
Or is a question, but
Or
she can
someone
read it
who's
for-
deaf.
Okay, very good. Let's see. לפיכך, therefore, אם היה הקורא חירש, קטן או שותה. If the person who is reading the Megillah is either deaf, or he's a child, or he's mentally unable to be aware of the fact that he's reading the Megillah properly. השומע ממנו לא יצא. If you heard the Megillah from a child, from a deaf person, you did not fulfill your obligation. ויש אומרים, and some say, שהנשים אינם מוציאות את האנשים. That women cannot read the Megillah for men. They don't fulfill their obligation by hearing Megillah from a woman. Look at Maran. What is Maran? What's the rule? We just studied this 2 weeks ago. When he says a halacha, and then some say, who is he following?
Some say.
When Maran says a halacha, everyone is obligated to read the Megillah. Man, woman, children. Man, woman, convert, servant.
Maran.
And then Maran says, and you have to hear the Megillah from somebody who's obligated in it. And some say that woman cannot read it for men. What is Maran's opinion? Can a woman read a Megillah for men or not?
No.
Yes.
Yes, some say. You don't follow some say when Maran says some say.
Right.
Okay.
It's fine.
Maran listed halakha first, now what some say.
Yeah.
According to Maran, a woman can read a Megillah for a man.
Oh, really?
Okay.
Of course.
Right. You just said some say, but he doesn't.
He's quoting the other opinion when he says some say.
I once sent my wife to read Megillah for somebody. I shouldn't have said I can, but it should be. It's okay. My wife is not a balat kriya. She didn't know too much. She knows how to read Hebrew well. So she went to read Megillah for somebody who I couldn't be at. That's according to Maran. But some say that she can't.
Can't. I think you said can't.
Some say she cannot read the Megillah for men.
I think
Now
you
what
said
does the
that she
Ramah say? Hagam, v'yesh omrim, and some say, im ha'isha kor'a la'atzma. If a woman reads the Megillah for herself, let's say she wasn't at shul, she wants to read the Megillah for herself, mevarechet lishmo'a Megillah. Instead of reading the blessing to read the Megillah, she says, you commanded me to hear the Megillah.
Like more. Like it's
No,
like
lishmo'a. Sheina chayevet b'kriyah, because a woman is not obligated to read the Megillah. This is an interesting shita of the Ashkenazim.
So what the bracha on the Megillah is Likra et Megillah or
Likra the Megillah. Al-Mikra Megillah. And she makes, instead of to read the Megillah, she says to hear the Megillah. The Ramah has an opinion, this is the opinion of the Ashkenazi rabbis, that a woman is not obligated to read the Megillah, she's obligated to hear the
To hear the
Megillah.
Megillah, okay.
And because of that, a woman who reads the Megillah for herself is not able to make the blessing to read the Megillah because it's not her commandment, rather to hear the Megillah.
interesting.
And therefore, according to them, it's obvious that a woman cannot read the Megillah for a man because she does not have the same obligation that he has. He has an obligation to read or to listen. She only has an obligation to listen.
Circular argument.
This is one of those opinions of
distinctive.
Ashkenazim that we don't know what to do with. The Ashkenazi rabbis hold on to this very tightly. We don't agree, obviously.
Right.
But what can I do? I can argue. Let's look at interesting Mishnah Boah.
It doesn't make sense because it says that you could fulfill the obligation by hearing it.
Yeah.
So that means men, women, everybody.
Everybody.
That's according to Maran.
Yeah, it's according to Mark.
The Ramah has a new opinion. But this is not an unusual thing. Tonight I was dealing with 3 cases of Halacha in which Tanakh, Mishnah, Talmud, Rambam, Shulchan Aruch rule one way, and then all of a sudden the Ashkenazi poskim come and they create an entire new Halacha that goes against everything that we mentioned until now. So I'm told that I must respect Ashkenazi minhagim. Okay, fine, okay, but I can't also respect it and explain it. Explain it is already too much for me. I can't. For me, there are rules that have to follow a certain line of reasoning.
Yeah.
For example, now it's going to come Pesach. The Talmud rules about fruit juices. You know, water that touches flour? A rabbi say that within 18 minutes it becomes chametz. The Talmud says, though, that the pure fruit juice, what does pure fruit juice mean? Not your 100% orange juice of the store. First of all, it's not pure. But also, it cannot have even one drop of water, says Maran. So, if the machinery was washed down and then they ran orange juice on it, that one drop of water makes the orange juice impure for this in this regard. But let's say you take an orange, a dry orange, your hands are dry, you squeeze the orange out the flour.
Into a glass.
You can mix that flour, let it sit the whole day, it doesn't become chametz. When we do that, we try to keep it within 18 minutes also. Because there is an opinion, not Talmudic opinion, but it says that fruit juice makes things chametz. But, listen carefully, the Ashkenazim have an opinion that goes against what I just told you. The Ashkenazim have an opinion that says that fruit juice makes things chametz faster than water does.
Really?
Which is in direct contradiction of what we've studied in the Talmud.
So,
Because of that, you'll find that Sfaradim will eat what they call matzah ashira. You've heard of this before,
yeah.
like egg matzah or those things.
they sell them in the store.
Whereas it always says in the box, this is only for sick or elderly Ashkenazim. It always says that on the box. I don't understand why people get offended, but that's what they write. And somehow that's how it's taught. Oh, you're not allowed to have egg matzah, but if you're Sephardic, you can be lenient about it. That's an incorrect wording of the halakha. According to the Talmud and to the Rambam and the Shulchan Aruch, you could have egg matzah. According to a variant opinion of Ashkenazim that does not follow the Talmudic logic, you're not allowed to. That's the same thing with kitniot, same thing with everything. There are clear lines, and then all of a sudden another opinion comes. I'm not saying that opinion comes from nowhere, but I did post an article a few months ago in this classroom. I suggest you read it. About the French-German rabbinic tradition when it comes to Talmud. I don't say that everything in there you must accept, but there is a line of thinking that the French and German rabbis developed a Talmudic tradition that had no tradition to it. What do I mean? When a person comes and they open up a Chumash and they read it Hebrew English, they think they know what they're reading. But then they meet a Jew who's been observing Chumash for 5,000 years, and then they say, "Oh wow, I never knew that a sukkah meant that. I always thought a sukkah was a tent from Walmart in my backyard." You meet many people like this. Maybe who have the desire to get close to Judaism, to live in faraway communities. Maybe they used to be Christians when they grew up, and they found a Chumash and a Chabad.org, and they started reading on their own. But you can tell right away that this is a person who is reading a text and trying to follow it, but has no living tradition that goes along with it. The French and German rabbis don't have a tradition that takes them back to the academies of the yeshivot that are in old Jewish communities like Babylon. It simply doesn't have it. And that's why sometimes in those communities there are leniencies or stringencies that veer very far away from the Talmudic line of halakha as it was transmitted. This is one of those interesting scenarios. Let's look at the Chavetz Chaim here. So if you click on commentary and you go to Mishnah Berurah, look for the one that says Zayin, 7. Some say that women do not fulfill the obligation for men.
Where are you looking? Back to Mishnah Berurah?
Click on this halakha, second halakha 2 in Shulchan Aruch, and then go to commentary Mishnah Berurah. It's going to say Zayin, 7. But a set of Mishnah Berurah costs maybe $50 or $60. All 6 volumes, and you can always bring it with you to class. If you need, we can arrange for it.
Is it in English or Hebrew?
The Hebrew English one costs about $699. We have one for the shul, someone donated, but I need to get some bookshelves up.
You said Yud Gimel?
Zion.
Okay, I was not here.
Yesh Omrim, some say, the woman cannot fulfill the obligation for men. And it's not similar to Chanukah candles where a woman can light for a man. Why? Why is it he's reading according to the opinion of the Ramah. The Shani Megillah, the Havi Kamo Kriyat Torah. Megillah is different than Chanukah candles. It's like Torah reading. And even though a woman is allowed to read the Torah, remember the Chachamim and Masechet Megillah forbid a woman from reading the Torah in order to maintain the dignity of the community. I'm not here to teach this halakha now. If you want to have a shiur about women in Torah reading, you have to have it. But a simple understanding of the Talmud is, how could it be that a man who's obligated to knowing the Tanakh doesn't know it, but a woman gets up and she knows how to read it better than he can? It shows the community that you're a bunch of ignoramuses. ולכן אפילו יחיד, I'm not saying ולכן אפילו יחיד אינה מוציאה משום לפלוג. So maybe about a single man, maybe she can go read for her husband. Okay, or for one man, it's not the whole community. It's leplug. There's no exception to the rule. The rule is, women do not read Megillah for men, period. וגם דאפשר, it's also possible, דאישה אינה חייבת בקריאה רק לשמוע, that there's an opinion that holds the women are not obligated to read the Megillah, only to hear the Megillah, ומקרה שאינה מחויבת בדבר לגבי איש, and therefore she does not have the same obligation as a man, and she can't fulfill the obligation for him. אבל בת אישה מוציאה את חברתה. A woman can read a Megillah for another woman, even according to the Ashkenazim. Which is why you'll find a recent pop-up of Megillah readings for women by woman. For Sfaradim, she could even read for the whole community. For Ashkenazim, though, the best she could do is read Megillah for other women.
Who would say that women are not obligated in reading but only in hearing?
Like I said, it's an Ashkenazi opinion that was developed, and
It's not based on anything.
it's based on a Mordechai. The Mordechai, not Mordechai like in the story, it's a Mordechai, a commentary on the Tractate Megillah.
Where did he get it from?
We'd have to, that's a good question, we'd have to go look in the sources, and see if I can find something fast. I can't tell you straight off where he gets this idea from.
Could it come from the fact that most men were able to read and some women couldn't?
No, it has to do with an obligation of a woman in reading.
I know, but if Moran says, and he's backed by 200 rabbis, says that we're all obligated, then
Umaran is just quoting all the books before him that all say that everyone is obligated in reading the Megillah, which would mean women too. I mean, it's a deviation from what the text says to say that women are not only obligated in hearing but not in reading. The Ashkenazim get even more complicated when it means that a man is going to read the Megillah for a group of women. How can he bless a blessing that according to them he can't make? Because the people he's reading for are not obligated to read the Megillah, only to hear the Megillah. It gets very complicated.
that's not what it says.
Now look here, the next Mishnah B'Ah Chet. If a woman reads it, Vayen b'Magen Avraham, look at the Magen Avraham, shemetzaded delot tikra la'atzma klal l'chidron nashim. He holds this is so strict that a woman may not even read a Megillah for herself. That she has to go find a man to read a Megillah for her. V'chol ze b'yesh la mimi lishma, and that's as long as she has from who to hear. Av l'me'en la mishika lefanea tikra hi la'atzma b'Megillah ksharam v'ech shesh l'shavtanu shma mikra Megillah. And if she doesn't have a man to read for her, so she can read for herself, but she should make the blessing to hear the Megillah reading. Even though she's reading it, she should make the blessing not that she's reading it, that she's hearing it from herself.
Is it just Ashkenaz custom?
Isn't that Sephardim do not follow this halakha? Okay. Halakha Gimel is not relevant. That's Dalet. HaShomea Megillah. If someone hears Megillah, mimishu mudar hana'a mimeno. What does it mean mudar hana'a mimeno? He took a neder, a vow that oath. I don't know which one is in English. A neder that he is never going to receive benefit from this person. Bob, I will never receive any benefit from Bob. And then the guy who's reading the Megillah, his name is Bob, and that's him. That's the guy who was talking about. Yata, you fulfill your obligation. What's the reason for it? You promised you would never receive any benefit from him. So, mitzvah is not there for your benefit. Mitzvah is there because you're obligated in it. And therefore, even though you don't want to benefit from him, it's not benefit, it's just an obligation you're fulfilling. Pelz almost threw somebody out of a shiur last week. In the shiur, he was talking about mitzvot and how there is all the kind of mitzvot that you never fulfill because they're not relevant to you, like the mitzvah to divorce your wife. It's one of the biblical commandments to give your wife a get.
Oh, of course.
If you need to divorce her. But it's not a mitzvah to go divorce your wife, obviously. It's a mitzvah that when you decide you no longer want to live with your wife, you have a biblical commandment to give her a gift. Someone asked our parents if you should therefore celebrate this mitzvah. That's like all mitzvot, you have to be happy when you do that. I'm telling you, I almost threw him out the window. I cannot tell you, sometimes people have some interesting halacha. I promise I would never receive anything from it. Don't worry, it's not benefit to hear the Megillah. Sit down and listen to the Megillah. Be right. Hey, makom she'en minyan, if there's a place that does not have a minyan, im echad yodea v'achrim enam yodim, if one person knows how to read and the others don't, echad poter et kulan, then one person can still read for everybody. V'im kulam yodim, but if everybody knows how to read the Megillah on their own from a kosher Megillah, kol echad poter atzmo, every person should read for himself.
It says person here, it doesn't say man.
Because according to Maran, he doesn't hold that it has to do with men. That's right. My assumption is most synagogues, at least here, even if there's not a minyan, there's still normally only one or two people who know how to read Megillah from a class, and therefore anyway to read. Now what if there's two people who know how to read? Let's say there's no, imagine this, imagine on Purim morning, it's only a few of us here, it's not a minyan, and I'm here, and my father is here, and both of us know how to read Megillah. So in that situation, according to Maran, each of us should read Megillah separately.
Really?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you
If
thought
And,
there's
and
not a
only
minyan.
only those people who don't know how to read on their own should hear one of us read. According to Magen Avraham, he says no, there's an inyan even when people are less than a minyan to do something together. Berov Am Hadad Melech. When the people are together, it respects Hashem more. But that's against the Shulchan Aruch. Either way, I'm sure there's who to rely on in either direction. But we were once in such a situation, my father and I, and my father always stands next to me to correct me. What did I ask him to do then?
To read also.
Just to read along while I'm reading.
Oh, okay.
Anyways, he's reading from his Megillah. We both have a Megillah.
Right.
So he's reading the Megillah, I'm reading the Megillah, so just both of it. That way you fulfill this problem, doesn't make a problem.
Okay.
Vav. I should send this to the rabbi I spoke about it Shabbat. Minhag Tov, it's a good custom, lahavi ktanim ktanot, to bring little boys and girls, lishmoa mikra Megillah, to hear the reading of the Megillah.
See, boys and girls.
That's right. Again, this is all according to Maran. And you should know that Mishnah Berurah does right. He says, just don't bring exceptionally small children that confuse people from hearing the Megillah. It's obvious that Elchanan knows how to hear the Megillah. Avinoam even can sit for 25 minutes hearing Megillah. Shiran Hodaya, they don't choose when to cry. If we can, and they're going to confuse people or drive people crazy. Here it's not so relevant by us, but the Mishnah Berurah also says that sometimes you bring kids to Beit Knesset, and they're not here to listen. They're here to put on costumes, to bang Haman. They're not here to read the Megillah. They're here to make noise and trouble and jump over things. And just don't bring those kids. The whole point of bringing the kids is to teach them about the hearing of the Megillah. They're not going to hear them. That's why in the olden days, when we used to have a lot of children that were of that spirit in our Kehillat, I used to always arrange some kind of laser tag. If you remember in those olden days, I arranged some kind of game truck or something like that. Why? What about the people used to scream, oh, why do you let the kids come into the shul and listen? I didn't throw the kids out. But let me ask you, between you and me, these kids would much rather be playing video games. They don't have an obligation to hear. And those who are older always came and stayed and sat with us. In fact, you remember even young kids like Itai and Netanel, they were not bar mitzvah yet. But they were involved and they were here and some were holding the Megillah, some were folding the Megillah. Of course. But there's no reason to force a child into a situation he doesn't want to be in. Sometimes I see them do this to kids, like, oh, you gotta come Shavuot morning to hear the Ten Commandments. Why does a 5-year-old have to hear the Ten Commandments? If everyone wants to be sleeping or playing with his Legos, why do you have to force it on him? And that's not a chinuch. It's a chinuch, an education for bad behavior. And the last thing Mishnah Berurah suggests, it's very important for every person to have their own Megillah. How much does the Megillah cost?
A lot.
Yeah, I think around 300.
You can buy it probably from 500 to 1,000. That's probably the price of the Megillah. It sounds like a lot of money, but think about how many Purims you've celebrated already.
Yeah.
Have your own Megillah. Why is it important to have your own Megillah? First off, to own something like a Megillah. It's like one of the books of the Tanakh. Aside from that, there's a halacha. Halacha says that if you miss one word, you don't fulfill the obligation. But if you miss one word and you read it right away in the Megillah, so then it's okay. Meaning you heard 90% of the words, but you read 10% of the words. That's fine. You'll never be in a situation where you didn't hear something, people confused you. It's a good thing to have your own Megillah. People over the years have always tried to own their own Megillah. There are some very expensive Megillah. There's some very simple Megillot. I'm sure that in town, whoever deals with Judaica is able to help you find a kasher Megillah. Tomorrow, I want to do some of the details of reading the Megillah. Let me just see where we're going to. And next week, how many days do we have? Monday and Tuesday we have to learn?
Starts on the 19th.
Wednesday.
Yeah, because it starts on Wednesday night, right?
It starts on Wednesday night.
That's the
So
19th.
do a little more about the Megillah, and then I want to do
20th.
about Matanot Le'Evunim and
20th.
Mishlach Manot and those things.
Oh yeah.
Do you know that the mitzvah of Mishlach Manot, there's only one halacha about it in the whole Shulchan Aruch. People turn this into a huge, complicated matter. It's one halacha. It's not so hard. So we'll do that starting tomorrow.